This unit in Merewether is selling for $255,000, the price tag making it a sought-after property among first home buyers. Real estate agents say it's been a similar story at homes under $350,000 right across the Hunter since the federal government introduced its inflated first homeowners grant last year.
The first home buyers market has definitely been far the busiest of all the markets at the moment.
But that probably won't continue.
No, that probably won't continue, no.
The Master Builders Association says it could spell disaster for the region, and in a statement that housing is an important economic driver in the Hunter and the decision to end the first homeowners boost on June 30 may stop the residential building recovery dead in its tracks. Federal member for Newcastle Sharon Grierson disagrees.
So I don't think the market will crash, but I do think certainly it will change in its dimensions.
She's speaking at a mortgage stress forum in Newcastle tonight and had this warning for first home buyers.
We don't want people to make hasty decisions and therefore have a mortgage commitment that they can't maintain.
Madeline Bond, NBN News.
I'm certainly understanding of why people want to see this report. There is no conspiracy, there is no secret. It's just about making sure that a report that is so important is given the appropriate attention.
The Mine Safety Advisory Council comes together every 2 months, normally well away from the coalface in Sydney. Cessnock today hosted the first meeting outside the capital, and after 5 deaths in Hunter mines in recent months, it's an opportune visit.
We had nearly a 5-year fatality-free period before those most recent deaths. One death's far too many, and every mine worker has the right to expect when he goes to work to be able to return home to his family.
It's coincidental we're here at this time, but as you say, it is timely. We're looking at some issues that are important throughout the industry.
Number 1 is improving fatigue management. The committee is developing a set of guidelines that it hopes the industry, CFMEU and state government will sign off on.
I think people in an industry which is generally fairly macho tend to believe they can get by on very little sleep, but clearly they can't.
At the same time, the union has thrown its support behind councils in the Upper Hunter investigating the cumulative impacts of coal mining and renewed calls for a dust monitoring station to be established in the area.
Our members, families that work in the industry live in the communities, so we want a safe community, we want a healthy community as well.
Penny Evans, NBN News.
Louise Mackay is healthy and active now, but she remembers all too well being bedridden and bored. The laptop computers she's helped provide for the Mater Hospital haematology ward have changed the days of patients like Clayton Fox.
This long stint, this time I've been here 3 weeks, probably sit on it for about 6 or 7 hours a day, playing.
Louise was 18 when she was diagnosed and was in and out of hospital for 3 long years undergoing treatment.
Got depression and anxiety and just became very lonely, so something that I really thought was needed in the wards was internet access, because basically we had no connection with the outside world.
They do now. Louise hosted 2 fashion parades raising $10,000 to buy a laptop for each of the 8 isolation rooms.
This means that people can still talk to their families and maintain a relationship with their school if they're young, or university. We have quite a lot of young people. We get some people that can kind of keep a half an eye on their work.
Louise is now online for her next fundraising venture, Newcastle Fashion Week in September, to raise money for the Cancer Council.
Wearing these medals and having these new ones now, it just gives you a bit of extra pride.
At the Jets gym this morning, Vignaroli had the weight of the world on his shoulders and he might just have to travel it to feature in Newcastle's final ACL group game.
Right at this moment we're still tossing up whether we're looking for him to go back to Italy to talk to the doctor of Lazio, which obviously has a lot of faith in.
In a match which would be his last in Newcastle, Fabio was among the first to get the Jets going, driving their goal-scoring chances before that hamstring left his side hamstrung.
Well, the medical staff have looked at him and assessed him and believe it's going to be pretty limited for him to get back, so we'll definitely be going without him.
The Jets will also have to do without young defender Ben Kantarovski for the Beijing game after copping his second yellow card of the tournament. It didn't break the hosts, but this second half strike would. Newcastle hit back through Matt Thompson, and when Sasho Petrovski won the penalty, the A-Leaguers looked like levelling. Famous for his Midas touch, the magic this time just wasn't there.
At the end of the day, a missed penalty and a few half opportunities, and you put yourself back in there, and it's just an unfortunate thing to think now that if we had won the game, we would have been sitting on top of the ladder.
In the other group match overnight, Ulsan beat Beijing. The Jets, although last on points differential, can still finish the round in the top two.
Ulsan have got to travel to Nagoya. We play Beijing at home, and it's a must-win game.
We're looking forward to definitely getting back into playing some games. There's nothing, training can't compare to games, so looking forward to it.
Gavin Wesball features in the Premier Outlaws class of speedway kart racing, and with no established Hunter Valley track to practice on, he's always on the run.
I've been involved in it for 8 years and it's just addictive. I've quit before and I've come back because it's just too addictive.
This weekend, Gavin will race in Gatton, Queensland, a speedway he's won at before to collect the state title. He's also the New South Wales champion and all up has 6 state crowns to his name. But from 4 national titles, he's finished with 2 seconds and 2 thirds. The lure of a win is what's driving his 5th campaign, that and the memory of his biggest fan.
My father died late last year and he's been wanting me to win the title for a while, and we've come close. We've got 6 states, but we haven't got an Aussie, so that's what I'm going to be going for.
Although a 31% increase may seem a lot, Hunter Water says our bills will still be cheaper than in Sydney or on the Central Coast. Pricing regulator IPART felt it couldn't burden customers with the full 57% hike the corporation was seeking, even though services need upgrading.
I think it's probably fair to say Hunter's fallen behind a bit, and they do need to spend quite a lot of money on sewerage works in order to meet current environmental standards.
Hunter Water sees the draft ruling as a win-win, although it slashes $100 million from its record $1 billion infrastructure program.
We'll still get the gains that we wanted from those projects, but they'll take a little bit more time to deliver.
In an interesting precedent, IPART says Tilligra Dam would take 50 years to pay off. Average households would be slugged $30 a year for construction, with future customers to bear much of the estimated $400 million cost.
40% now for extra drought security and 60% for future population growth, which we know we're going to have 160,000 over the next 30 years. So it's an equitable sharing.
IPART wants the state government to review pensioner rebates to match handouts Sydney residents receive. It's considering holding a second community hearing on the proposed hike next month. A report is due to be finalised in July. Penny Evans, NBN News.
Each year on the 25th of April, crowds gather for dawn services, memorial services and marches, all in honour of those who fought for Australia in times of war. This year's Anzac Day holds a special significance for Merewether RSL sub-branch members, as it will be the last time they'll host a breakfast at their club, a tradition that began in 1957.
There have been special occasions for our members, and it will be a shame that it will be our last one in our building.
The day will be especially sad for Jeff Rich, whose father helped host that first breakfast.
He in fact was the first licensee of the Merewether RSL Club.
But Anzac Day services won't be the only events taking place, with a race day on at Broadmeadow. Police are planning a full-scale operation across Newcastle.
We will not be tolerating any sort of antisocial behaviour where people choose to become violent, where they overindulge with alcohol.
Dawn services will be held across the Hunter from Spears Point to East Maitland and Lemon Tree Passage, as well as in Morisset, Nelson Bay and Newcastle, while later services and marches will be at Adamstown, Cessnock and Swansea.
Rebecca Gould was looking forward to the perfect snack late yesterday, a nice cup of tea and a pineapple donut bought in a bargain packet from Coles. But when she bit into the tempting treat, she says something didn't feel right.
I didn't realise it stuck in my mouth, like in my gum, and it was like really hard. I thought it was my tooth at first, but then I thought, no, it's a bit too hard, so I spat it out, and that's when I realised it was the thumbtack.
Rebecca considers herself lucky she didn't swallow the shiny bit of stationery. She immediately contacted the store but wasn't satisfied with their response.
It was a bit of an insult when they offer you $2 back and a free packet of donuts.
This is the supermarket where Rebecca says she bought the donuts. When contacted, Coles management said they were unaware of the incident but insisted they have strict food handling policies. All Rebecca wants is an apology.
I think I'll just bake my own from now on.
A national spokesman for Coles has since contacted NBN News to say they are taking the complaint seriously and want to carry out tests on the donut in question. Penny Evans, NBN News.
The yellow-bellied sea snake was discovered washed up at Horseshoe Beach yesterday afternoon and was initially mistaken for an eel.
It looked like it was a bit stressed out, also tired, and it probably got washed in because of the big low that was sitting out off the coast.
Normally found in the tropics, the snake was rescued by wildlife expert Peter Bryant. This morning he chose Swansea Channel as the best location for its release back into the ocean. Timid at first, the yellow belly was soon back where it belonged, but it wasn't the only snake in need of a relocation. Peter was also called to a house in Warrabrook where a family thought they discovered a cobra.
It's all black. It's sitting up like a cobra and its head is flattened. And I said, well, that's signs that it's stressed out and it is quite angry. So leave it alone and I'll be straight around.
Rarely found in the suburbs, this blue-bellied black snake is actually more dangerous than the red-belly variety, but today it too was safely back in the wild. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. So often these days, rugby league players call media conferences as a reaction to an indiscretion, but that was far from the case this time.
I think it's best if we've got this out in the open instead of speculation. Why is he missing a game? Why isn't he playing well? And I'd rather it come out in a positive note than a negative one.
Patterson says when playing no longer proved a pleasure, he knew it was time to seek help.
It's been probably the toughest probably 2 months of my life. I've had great support.
He has had for a number of weeks and will have going forward the club's full support. He's certainly dealing with the right people to help him with this illness.
The forward says letting his team and fans down is something he doesn't want to do, and it's weighed heavily on his mind.
Physically, it's drained me from not sleeping and not being able to be my jovial self. As people know me, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky bloke, and on a mental side, I'm riding the roller coaster, mate. I'm up here one day, could be the next hour I'm down here.
He'll now keep in close contact with Coach Brian Smith and make a decision about playing on a weekly basis.
If I'm not right by Thursday or Friday and we play Sunday, well, that's the call I'm going to make. That's the call I'm going to do that I think is going to be best for the team. And like I said, if I don't feel I'm going to be able to contribute to the team, well, then I won't be playing, mate. To the fans out there, I just want you to, if you can, just bear with me. I'm trying my best to beat this thing and beat this illness, but it may take some time and I might miss a few games here and there, but I know I can beat it.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
Newcastle has earned growing praise in recent weeks and with due reason, but consistency remains the challenge and Sunday's match is the perfect litmus test against the best attacking side in the league.
Have we got it in us to take some pats on the back from all and sundry after the last game and knuckle down and recognise that we're playing against the most dangerous attacking team in the comp?
Complacency shouldn't be a problem for a team looking to claim 4 straight wins and get a real foothold near the top of the competition. The game plan for Sunday sounds as simple in theory as it is difficult in reality. Wear out Benji Marshall and shut down Robbie Farah.
Yeah, definitely. He touches the ball first every play and all their play sort of comes off him and then obviously Benji as well. But if we can sort of try and shut Robbie down, that'll go a long way to winning the game.
We know they've got a lot of individual attacking flair. They've got the benefits of an attack-minded coach who's not afraid to go outside the square.
Akila Uarte remains unavailable due to a hamstring problem, leaving Wes Nguama and Keith Lalia fighting for the vacant wing spot, but both will be in the 17-man squad for Sunday's game at Campbelltown. From humble beginnings in the new millennium, the hard work is showing for the Newcastle North Stars, who can boast 6 grand finals, 4 national titles and an important place in Hunter's sporting fabric.
Now we could actually walk around and people do know who the North Stars are. For years, a lot didn't even know we had an ice skating rink.
Ray Sheffield has been with the club since day one and is proud of how they've grown in that time.
Always set the bar every year, and we are the team to beat. People fear us, hate playing at this rink.
Goalkeeper Matt Ezzy knows plenty will come his way in Sunday night's season opener against arch rivals, the West Sydney Ice Dogs, who they beat for the title last year. He's just returned from national duty alongside several of them, and now it's time to play rivals once again.
When it comes to putting on the green and gold, everyone gets the job done together, but come the season time, there's no friends out there.
Of the imports, the club has gone for speed over size this season, but don't think that'll change their trademark style.
We've got some guys that can really handle themselves, and if the other teams want to rough it up with us, like on Sunday night with the Ice Dogs, that's always a big battle. Our guys will get a green light, don't worry about that.
The eternal flame helped keep the early morning darkness at bay as war veterans and current service personnel marched to a makeshift cenotaph. The sounds of gunfire brought back memories for some and conjured images of war for others as Newcastle's dawn service got underway. Prayers, speeches and hymns were offered to those Anzacs present either in person or in spirit. As dawn broke, so too did that all too familiar sound. A subdued sunrise revealed the true extent of the crowd, almost 10,000 strong. That show of support meant the world to 90-year-old World War II veteran Arthur Wade.
This is the biggest crowd I've ever seen here, and which people are saying is about time we gave these things away. But that's not the case. People are still vitally interested.
There were mixed emotions at the Merriweather RSL as members tucked into their very last Anzac Day breakfast at the club, ending a 50-year-long tradition.
The turnout this morning's been excellent, very much like the old days when there were many members and the place was packed on Anzac morning for breakfast.
Thousands lined the streets of Nelson Bay as the town's march proceeded. Veterans were given a hero's welcome. There was standing room only at Apex Park during the commemorative service, and everybody knew what the fuss was about.
It means remembrance of the Anzacs.
For the soldiers that helped us and saved our country.
The people that fought for Australia and they died for us.
A more intimate ceremony was held in Charlestown with wreaths lovingly laid at Lions Park. In Maitland, the New England Highway was temporarily closed as diggers alongside the next generations of soldiers marched, and over 1,000 crammed into Maitland Park to pay their respects.
Like it or not, for many, Anzac Day has become synonymous with more than just commemorative marches and services. It's also the one day a year where people can indulge in a friendly game of tour.
An option hundreds of punters took up at the Cricketers Arms Tavern. Police began their high visibility operation this afternoon, patrolling crowds at the Broadmeadow Racecourse. They say crowds have been well behaved, but they won't tolerate any antisocial behaviour tonight.
We have several dozen additional police working who will be monitoring our licensed premises and the surrounds.
G'day, my name's Lieutenant Michael Butler, currently serving in East Timor in Battle Group Tiger. What Anzac Day means to me is a time to remember our fallen comrades, especially those that have fallen recently in Afghanistan. Just like to say g'day to all my mates back on the Central Coast, my beautiful wife Angela, my friends and family around the world.
G'day, my name's Captain Sue Field and I'll be in East Timor on Anzac Day. I'd just like to thank the town of Taree for their correspondence and support that they've given us in theatre. Thank you for your well-wishing and thoughts throughout our time in theatre, and I'll be thinking of you on Anzac Day.
G'day, I'm Michael O'Donnell. I'm serving in East Timor with the Timor-Leste Battle Group. I'd like to say a big thanks to my family and my friends for all the support they give us this Anzac Day, and also I'd like to say a big shout out to all the mates in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I hope you keep safe, and I look forward to catching up with you in a couple of months.
Hi, I'm Private Callahan.
I'm Private Maloney.
And we're in Afghanistan
On Anzac Day.
and I'd like to say g'day to my mum and John and my two little brothers Benjamin and Nicholas, my dad and Debbie and my little sister Anna, and I gotta say hey bud to Luke, Tegan, Reese, Heidi and Courtney, and to the rest of the kids in Newcastle, and I can't forget my nan because she'll be watching and she'll love it.
This is Bar Beach, where the regional finals were meant to be held, but it wasn't from a lack of surf that saw them switch venues. It was too much. Further south at Blacksmiths, the surf was just right. The problem was, everyone wanted to go. The contest area awash with free surfers who made life tough for competitors and a nightmare for those judging. Jake Sylvester had no trouble standing out as he carved his way to victory in the under-18s final, which he claimed over Jack Scollard. As if to underline his enormous potential in the sport, he backed out for the Open Men's Final, where he promptly claimed the highest scoring ride of the decider with an 8-point effort. It was Dylan Johnson, though, who collected the best two rides needed to win. The former Northern Beaches boy runs a business providing foam for board shapers, and he proved a big hit with a finished product too, in taking out the main event.
It feels good to have some good waves, and get a win's always good, so yeah, not a problem.
One of the loop lines in the Hunter will be ready to open next week. That work has been taking place. 650 jobs alone in the Hunter.
There is no problems at all with the financial standing of our franchisees, and that their funds are held separately in client accounts so that their monies are there when they need it to be paid for the various trips that they've organised.
200 creditors attended a meeting in Brisbane on Thursday to hear how CleanMade kept trading until April 9, accepting money for appliances that would never materialise. Sonia Korbevsky and her husband Chris spent almost $6,000 at a CleanMade outlet last June. The couple have endured a frustrating wait ever since. It's put the construction of their new house well behind schedule.
We're left with a kitchen that we can't complete. We've got deadlines to meet with the house. We've got to be in there and get that kitchen in, otherwise it delays us there and more money losses.
She believes CleanMade owners Andrew and Brad Young should be held accountable and says the government needs to intervene.
They really do need to step back and look at the laws and the rights of the consumer.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
With it literally blowing a gale offshore and up to 80 km/h winds inside the bay, this regatta was going nowhere fast. Conditions simply too dangerous to send the 64-strong fleet out.
People say, well, you can go sailing in anything. Well, you can. However, you tend to break gear and there's the potential to break people.
Having won all 4 earlier races, 2008 Sydney to Hobart winner Quest added yet another title to its account, and it'll be back to an event many believe will soon rival the biggest on the Australian calendar.
Really has great potential. This will be one of the best regattas in Australia, no doubt, in my mind, in the next 5 years.
While Shogun provided Quest with the most competition, Lake Macquarie's tow truck was also holding its own against the professionally crewed craft, finishing 3rd in Division 1.
And we'd like to race today, though. I think we sort of think our boat's better in a stronger breeze.
But it's the event itself which remains the talking point. In just its 2nd year, numbers have more than doubled, and it has the full support of Yachting Australia.
And what we do see in places like Sydney Harbour is a whole lot of boats sitting there looking for events to do. And this is just a perfect venue to do it.
It's a sour way to start the term. The damage and wasted fruit was easy to spot today, but it could have been worse if previous vandal attacks hadn't led the school to set up an informal neighbourhood watch with nearby residents.
They were awoken to the noise, I believe, and contacted the police, which is part of our security process that we have in place at the school. So I would like to take that opportunity to thank them.
The police did a patrol of the area. Unfortunately, nearby they found the kids hiding in a backyard. All 3, one aged 15, one 16 and one 17 were arrested, taken to Maitland Police Station and interviewed, and as a result of that they'll be dealt with under the Young Offenders Act.
Cleaners worked non-stop from 4 a.m. while glaziers were brought in to replace the windows to ensure the school is student ready.
This attack is random and we're very proud of our school, and we know that tomorrow it's going to be a wonderful day for our students to start.
The citrus trees have a lot of history going back generations and are not normally considered possible stores of ammunition.
There's lots of tales about the lemon marmalade and the lemonade that they used to make, so they are very, very special to the school.
So despite their tart offerings, the tree's future at the school seems sweet. Penny Evans, NBN News.
They've looked around to see a man standing a few metres away from them, pointing a mobile phone at them, and they believed he was taking photos of them at the time.
That's the beauty of the project. It's shovel ready. It's ready to go. All they need is the go-ahead from the government.
A new era, a new look Marta. Workmen were busy today putting the finishing touches to the grand main entrance on Edith Street. Come 7 tomorrow morning, it'll be open for business as the new emergency department comes to life.
We're now equipped with fantastic facilities that enable our staff to provide world-class care and that reflects contemporary clinical practice.
The department is fitted with the most modern equipment and is much larger than the old facility. It has more beds, but at this stage it'll continue to operate with 10.
In total, this facility has 18 beds available to us, but we're not anticipating the need to use all of those in the foreseeable future.
However, Marta Management is confident of being funded from next financial year to also operate a 12-bed emergency medical unit. Tomorrow's changeover from old to new will be challenging, with both emergency departments to operate at the same time for a number of hours. The whole Marta redevelopment is scheduled for completion in June.
Hunter beaches were virtually deserted over the weekend, but as they've done for the past 7 months, volunteer surf lifesavers were still on duty. These days, there are as many women wearing the red and yellow uniform as men.
We're approximately, I'd say, 800 members up on our previous season. A lot of that's contributed to mums and dads of our youth that are joining the surf movement and seeing what the lifestyle is.
Between them, the Hunters' 13 clubs took more than 7,000 preventative actions and performed almost 320 rescues.
We have very few incidents as such. The ones that do occur are rock fishermen. They're the predominant persons that, unfortunate, lose their life in the ocean.
And it seems even a summer of shark sightings couldn't keep people away.
The crowds were aware. You'd often find the people saying, "Are the sharks there? Are the sharks there?" Well, yes, they are there, but they're not coming into our shores as such.
Council lifeguards will continue to patrol Newcastle beaches every day until May 10. From May 11, only Bar Beach and Nobbies will be patrolled until the next volunteer surf lifesaving season starts on Saturday the 3rd of October. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
It's the same injury that saw Danny Medeiros end his time at the Knights early and miss almost 6 months of football. And now Ben Cross faces the long road back from a torn bicep too.
Any chance of getting back on the field for the Knights this year, that'll be my main focus. Origin and all that sort of stuff's out the window.
Jared Mullen will know more tomorrow about his injured shoulder, but his body is already telling him it's not great.
I remember doing it last year against the last round against the Broncos, but it's feeling a bit sore this time, so, you know, fingers crossed it's nothing too bad.
The injury list was about as much fun as today's video session, where everyone's ears copped a hammering after that capitulation late yesterday.
It was a little bit like the speeches at half-time and full-time. You know, he wasn't very happy at full-time, which is understandable. You know, I think, as I say, we've got to learn to put sides to the sword.
Rogers could barely walk with bone bruising on his knee and was later charged with a dangerous throw. He can avoid a week suspension with a guilty plea, but he may still miss the Broncos game in any case.
I might be right this week, I might be 4 weeks. I've got to wait and see. They've got me on a bone stimulator and that's trying to speed the recovery up.
Junior Sow is no certainty to play either with a chest problem, and Wes Nguama is also a concern. The team to play Brisbane is named tomorrow. It certainly wasn't the start to the game the North Stars would have been banking on. Against the same team they beat for last year's title, the Premiers were down 3-0 in no time at all. It certainly sparked Newcastle into action. When Ben Morrison fired from range, the Stars were back on level terms. 5 unanswered goals and a 2-goal win, pleasing the packed house. Last week we brought you the story of Gavin Wesball as he prepared to race for the National Kart Championship in Queensland in memory of his late father John. Well, he won. After 4 previous podium finishes and some engine trouble this time around, the win capped off years of hard work. And the time-honoured Newcastle City Masters Lawn Bowls Championship has gotten underway at the Lowlands Club in Cooks Hill. Tomorrow should prove a challenge for some, with Australian #1 and world-ranked bowler Kelvin Kirko to begin his campaign.
Bob Baldwin is one of a number of federal politicians who left Australia for a trade and business tour of Mexico last Saturday. Speaking from just outside Mexico City, the Coalition MP says concern about swine flu is clearly evident in the country.
People are off the streets by and large, schools are closed, meeting places are closed down. So people are taking the threat here very, very seriously.
The group, which also includes Central Coast MP Belinda Neal, is taking plenty of precautions, including wearing masks and frequently washing hands, as well as limiting physical contact.
In other words, shaking hands, or is the norm in the Mexican community, is to give people a kiss on the cheek. Those sort of things are being avoided.
The trip has also been amended on advice from the Australian ambassador to Mexico and local health authorities to minimise the risks of infection.
Our program has been compacted because some of the things we were going to do involved large groups of people. They've been taken out of the agenda now.
The delegates are due to fly out after a meeting with Mexican politicians tomorrow. Penny Evans, NBN News.
Business, community and political heavyweights gathered today for a summit to discuss declining business activity in the city and the flagging appearance of hundreds of buildings.
Extremely difficult. I mean, I really do feel sorry for people that are going into work each day and seeing the condition of the city that they're trying to operate and retail in.
The rail debate, paid parking, the mall reopening and GPT's deferral of plans for the city's redevelopment are all issues cited as holding Newcastle back. But one idea from the summit that could improve things in the short term is a CBD blitz.
We probably need to have a look at a few blocks that are really badly graffitied or unkempt. We need to then go to the owners of the properties, talk to them and say, look, what we want to do is we want to fix your place up. We're tired of relying upon the owners to do the right thing. So we'll do the right thing for them. Won't cost them anything. We'll just fix it.
The Newcastle Alliance will apply for federal funding to pay for the mini makeover. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
The biggest problem at this stage, if the nets get caught in the anchors or the chains and the boat rolls over, we could lose a fisherman.
Four-year-old Gordy has completely changed William O'Neill's life.
He's opened up my mobility and enhanced everything about my life, and he's my best mate.
While William's life is easier with Gordy, going to a restaurant isn't always a pleasant experience.
It happens in various places where people aren't sure about the law. And people are asked to leave, and it's very embarrassing.
Refusing entry to a guide dog owner is against the law under the Disability Discrimination Act, a fact some hospitality workers are unaware of.
In a recent study, it showed that 1 in 3 adults weren't sure or didn't know whether guide dogs were allowed access into hospitality premises, which was a little bit concerning.
Guide Dogs New South Wales has launched a campaign called Guide Dogs Welcome Here, aimed at educating restaurant staff. Scratchley's is the first in the region to take it up. As well as a sticker, restaurateurs who take part in the campaign also get a step-by-step guide on how to set up meals for the visually impaired. Madeline Bond, NBN News.
Margaret Morse arrived home from a one-week holiday to find most of her timber handrail in splinters on her deck. The culprits, a feisty flock of sulphur-crested cockatoos.
They're just absolutely shredding things to bits. It doesn't matter where it is. You know, we've got different areas of the house affected, barge moulds and fascia and, you know, all deck railing, the cedar uprights, all that sort of thing. So they've made a good mess of it, just shredding it to bits.
The outdoor furniture is looking a little worse for wear, and since the cockies ate Margaret's barge boards, possums have got into the ceiling as well. 5 homes in the street are being attacked. The clapping sticks keep them away for a little while, but the rubbery snake really isn't fooling anyone.
We have had just recently this deter repellent spray, and you know we've covered the deck. We've occasionally put the hose on them, things like that. But they're very keen. They're always back.
Wildlife experts say the behaviour was probably caused by someone feeding the birds.
If people start feeding them, they basically sit around, have a feed all day, and they've got nothing else to do, so they get bored. So they do what they do best, chew.
We really feel that it's just like possibly a rogue element, and we feel a bit like we've been targeted at the moment.
Insurance won't cover the damage, so until the cockies move on, Margaret is ready with her weapon of choice. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Coming straight from his final medical clearance from a hamstring problem, Steve Simpson wasted no time in joining his teammates to prepare for what will be his first game in 6 weeks.
I had a fitness test, I think it was yesterday, and got through all the training there, and it felt really good. So yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the week training, and yeah, get back on the park would be great.
His return couldn't be timed better given the loss of Ben Cross for the season, Jared Mullen for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks, and a stack of others in doubt to play Brisbane.
The boys have showed over the last few weeks that they can handle any occasion, so I'm more than confident that they're all up to the mark. I've just got to join them.
Arkuuate, Adam McDougall and Simpson all come back to boost the squad, which is still far from settled yet. With Mullen's loss confirmed today, Scott Giroux has the halfback duties once again. Meanwhile, former Knights back Luke Walsh enjoyed a good start to his career with the Panthers, scoring their first try in that win overnight. Premiership wins, individual awards and Socceroos duty. None of them are stacking up for John Griffiths, who by tomorrow night should be a dad.
It's crept up on me late because obviously I've been playing over in Beijing and time's flown. So now I'm back in Australia. The reality's definitely hit home.
Currently on loan from Newcastle to Beijing Grow On, he's happy to be back home. As for a permanent return when the overseas deal expires, much rests on a meeting with coach Gary Van Egmond. Griffiths understands, though, owner Con Constantine was disappointed he played against the Jets last month.
Con should know that, you know, football's business and, you know, shouldn't really get personal. I think I was the Jets' best player because I think I missed about 4 one-on-ones with the keeper.
Ironically, suspension will see him miss the return leg here next week.
It works out nicely for me because otherwise I was back on a flight tomorrow night, so it's good for myself and Bianca to actually stay with the family for a few more days.
By then, he'll have a new fan, and if it's a boy, Jet is on the short list for names.
I've been involved in far worse than that. You know, back in the good old days, they'll be fine. They'll just get on with it, and you know, they'll probably have a chat to a few different people, and it'll be all forgotten by tomorrow.